thank you for joining us. The Economic Community of West African States says most of its member states are ready to participate in a standby force that could intervene in Niger following a coup there late last month. Defense chiefs from the 15-member regional bloc met in Accra on Thursday as part of the latest effort to overturn the removal of Mohamed Bazoum, Niger's president, deposed in the 26th of July coup. ECOWAS Commissioner Abdel-FatauMusah says all member states except those under military rule and Cape Verde are ready to participate in the standby force. Identifying with the position of the regional leaders, Nigeria's Chief of Defense Staff, General Christopher Musa, said, quote, "Democracy is what we stand for, and it is what we encourage." He added that the focus of the meeting is not to simply react to events, but to proactively chart a course that results in peace and promote stability. Joining me now via Zoom here in Lagos for more on the Niger coup and diplomatic strategies to return the African nation to democratic governance is a professor of international relations and strategic studies, David Awarawo. Thank you for joining us on The World Now. Let's begin with the standby force of the ECOWAS. It excludes states under military rule and Cape Verde. Just how formidable do you think that force is?
First of all, thank you for having me. That means that we have 10 countries in West Africa that have indicated interest to participate, supply forces to make up the standby force, while 5, are part of on the other side, so to speak, because virtually all the 5 have indicated interest to support Niger in this crisis. The first will be, look at the 10, you have Nigeria, you have Ghana there. The big countries in West Africa are among the 5. So it's quite formidable. But of course, we know that if there is a violent conflict, there is a war, it won't be limited to the 5 versus 10. We have Russia on the other side. We also have allies that will join this other side. So in trying to assess the capacity of the intervention force, the analysis should also include the outsiders who will likely be part of any violent conflict should that take place. So we are still thinking that diplomacy would, at the end of the day, gain momentum and help resolve this crisis outside the actual intervention militarily in Niger.
Well then, Prof, are you concerned about the seeming crack in unity among ECOWAS member states?
Yes, I'm not so. Yeah, am I surprised? No, I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised because there are many countries that are looking inwards. Virtually all the African countries, 16 of them, are facing economic crisis. And usually in international relations, when countries are facing internal crisis, they pay less attention to international affairs. Again, there are other considerations. People are thinking, for instance, Ghana. Even though Ghana is supporting, Ghana has been, concerned about what happened in its border to the north, Burkina Faso. Since Burkina Faso has indicated interest to, support Niger. So we have countries like that have concerns about their own internal security should an intervention take place in Niger. And of course, we also have those who are sympathetic to even the military, because they say ECOWAS is now enthused about trying to remove the military. What about when civilians, for instance, President Conde of Guinea in 2020 changed constitution to have a 3rd term, and then there were riots and the military came in. There are those who think that ECOWAS is hypocritical, that when civilians do it, it is okay. When military does it, it is not so much okay. So we have all of these factors that have influenced decisions, and that's why I'm not surprised that we have 5 who are not supporting this effort. Even the 10 supporting, some are lukewarm, just in between here and there. And that is not surprising given the prevailing circumstances.
I was actually asking if you were concerned, if you were worried and bothered about how it is all panning out. But then let's talk about the strategies for diplomacy, for dialogue to end the conflict and ensure that Nigerians actually have peace. Already they are bearing the brunt of the sanctions that are being imposed on the Republic. And I mean, you can just imagine life without power. You can just imagine life taking many steps back from what they used to know it to be. How do you think ECOWAS should go ahead, I mean, and in the international community in supporting the cause of restoration of peace in that state?
Well, let me just tie the two questions. Yes, I'm very concerned, gravely concerned, because a war, intervention in Niger will create a condition for West Africa to become a theater of war, with all the catastrophic consequences that accompany that. Like I said before, external agencies will step in, and the effect will be better imagined than real, which is why judgment is needed at this point. Caution is needed, restraint is needed, diplomatic efforts need to be stepped up, concessions will need to be granted. If you ask me, really, I do not see Mohamed Bazoum being reinstated. What can be negotiated is his release and a short timetable for transition to a new government. If a war is the option, and the intervention militarily, the cost far outweigh the benefit, you know, everybody will pay dearly for it. So what we hope is that they will continue to dialogue, and both sides will grant concession. The other side should forget about trying to try Bazoum and all that, while ECOWAS should also be measured in its expectations, such that they would, you know, negotiate, and hopefully very soon, Niger can then return to democratic governance.
And by days, months, or years, what would you describe as the ideal? Because you've talked about a short transition period. What would that short mean for you?
For me, that short will be 1 year. In Nigeria here, in 1998 through 1999, we had an 11-month transition, and it was smooth. So 1 year should be enough for any honest, sincere group of persons in power that are actually desirous of transiting to civilian government.
Your choice of words, Prof. Your choice of words is quite strategic. It's quite profound, and that is the use of any government that is actually committed to the cause of peace. So if we take it back to what is happening in Niger, would it be right to say, would it be correct to say that the coup leaders are actually committed to peace and they would like a restoration to democracy?
Right now, there isn't much to inspire optimism along that line, that they are committed to peace and they are committed to early restoration to democracy. That is where ECOWAS insistence and ECOWAS, you know, diplomatic activities can let that happen. In the other countries where coups have taken place, they were trying to set a timetable that would be almost forever. But ECOWAS insistence has led to, even though that's not what ECOWAS would desire, has led to, I mean, a drastic reduction in the period they have set to transit. They may want to stretch it, but ECOWAS insistence will surely ensure that those countries return to democratic governance shorter than the military men are trying to do. The same thing too can happen in Niger. I'm sure they will try to set some very long period. ECOWAS with sanctions and other measures will be able to compare Niger to have a very short, even though that might not be what they wish. Suffer and social famine begin to develop on account of the prevailing circumstances. They'll be compared to, you know, giving and be subscribed to a shorter period to transit to democratic governance. So they may not want it, but pressure can compel them to do so.
All right, then. Professor of International Relations and Strategic Studies, David Awarawo, thank you so much for talking to us on The World Now.
Thank you for having me.